And welcome back to another Theorycraft video for Scholomance Academy. Today we are doing Warlock. And the first Warlock archetype that I think is going to be pretty decent in Scholomance Academy is the traditional, the age-old Zoo, right? Zoo has been in the game pretty much since the start. I haven't played since the start, but I obviously know that, you know, whenever I've been in Hearthstone and whenever Hearthstone meta is around, a Warlock Zoo is pretty much always around as well. Sometimes it's tier 1, sometimes it's tier 3 or tier 4, but there's always going to be some sort of aggressive Warlock deck, an aggressive Zoo style archetype in the game. And I feel like with Scholomance Academy, with some of the new cards that they're releasing, Zoo might not actually be that bad. So the first Theorycrafted deck that I have for you guys today is a Lackey Zoo. Obviously, this deck makes use of the Imprisoned Scrapping, which was released last expansion. Obviously, this card did get nerfed, so it's definitely a bit weaker now. Since it was nerfed, it hasn't really seen play, but it's running the Scrapping package regardless. I still think is strong enough to run. It's also running a lot of 1-drops in, of course, to complement the Scrap Imp alongside the Magic Carpet. We have Fringe Servant, Beam Psychic, Blazing Battle Mage, Garden Orc Merchant, and the new Spirit Jailer. Not really any Soul Fragment synergy in this deck. We're just running this because it's a 1/3, right? It's a decent body, and it's a good body to buff from the Scrap Imp as well. Running the discard package in this deck also with the Expired Merchant, Nightshade Matron, and Hand of Gul'dan. So, you know, going to be able to draw through your deck really, really quickly. And then get a big hand, play Scrap Imp, buff up your hand, and hopefully create a board that the opponent cannot deal with. But to give this deck a little bit more like consistency, I guess, we're also running the Dark Pharaoh Takan Lackey package, right? Obviously, this makes Lackeys 4/4 for the rest of the game. We have Evil Genius, double of that. We have 2 copies of Sinister Steel as well to get more Lackeys. So, you know, you could also put in Grand Lackey Urk in this deck as well. If the meta is a little bit slower, to generate more Lackeys in the late game. That gives you like an alternate win condition. Running the new card Disciplinarian Gandling. In this deck, the 4-mana 3/6, whenever you summon a minion, destroy it and turn it into a 4/4. So a very good minion to have in Zoo, obviously, with a bunch of 1-drops. You know, you can just play this on turn 4 sometimes. It will probably survive. There's a decent amount of health. And then on the following turn, you can play a bunch of 1-drops to make them into 4/4s, basically, and create a board. Sometimes it doesn't survive, so you can combo it maybe, you know, on turn 5 or turn 6 with a couple of 1-drops and get, you know, Disciplinarian Gandhi and a couple of 4/4s. That's really strong as well. So, yeah, definitely a good card for Zoo in general. So, yeah, this is pretty much the classic Lackey Zoo. Pretty similar to kind of how Zoo looks nowadays, just with the addition of Disciplinarian Gandling and Spirit Jailer. So, yeah, pretty decent, I think. Another version of Zoo that I thought might be quite good is something a little bit different, but this is more of a self-damage Zoo, right? So we're running cards such as the Neverset Thresher and Disease Vulture, right? And you want to be able to damage yourself to summon minions with the Disease Vulture. You can also use Life Tap as well. And because we're using a lot of self-damage mechanics, double Raise Dead in the deck as well, which is really good. Disease Vulture on turn 4, getting back some of your cards and also obviously getting some tokens on board. But with a lot of like self-damage effects, we're running double Flesh Giant in this deck. Flesh Giant costs 1 less whenever you've changed your health on your turn, right? So there's a lot of ways to do that in this deck. We have Flame Imp, obviously. We also just have the Hero Power, which damages ourselves. And, you know, reduces Flesh Giant by 1. Obviously, never that Thresher, obviously Raise Dead. So there's a lot of ways to do that. Flesh Giant can usually come down on turn 4, turn 5. And be quite a threat in this deck. So yeah, not bad at all, definitely. Running Disciplinarian Gandling once again in this deck. Really, really strong Zoo card, I think. You know, just making these small minions potentially, you know, 4/4s, which can be really threatening to the opponent. Especially a Priest, obviously, with the 4 attack stat line. Historically been very difficult for Priest to deal with. This deck is also running discard package, of course. It is the best package right now in Zoo. Just ensure that Zoo has enough resources in hand. So running Inspired Merchant, Hand of Gul'dan, and the Nightshade Matron, obviously. Issue with this is Flesh Giant obviously costs more than Hand of Gul'dan initially, so you're going to have to discount it by a little bit for the Hand of Gul'dan to be guaranteed to be discarded. You're going to have to discount it by 3 to make sure the Hand of Gul'dan is, you know, consistently going to be discarded. I don't think that's that hard to do in this deck, honestly. By the time you want to play Nightshade Matron, this will probably be less than 6 mana. And maybe sometimes you do want to play Expired Merchant on turn 2. But your Flesh Giant is above 6 mana, so that can be a little bit awkward for this deck, so that might be a little bit of an issue for it, but I feel like more often than not, you can just then save the Merchant, maybe tap instead, and then play the Merchant later on when the Flesh Giant's gone below Hand of Gul'dan value. I think Flesh Giant is just too good not to run in this deck, honestly. Also, obviously, just running, you know, the classic aggressive 1-drops, running Vile Fiend as well, and the 2-drop slot. This is kind of a flex slot. I wasn't really sure what to put into this. The deck kind of needed a couple more 2-drops, so I just thought I'd put Imprisoned Valfeed in. But you can definitely replace this for like a Bone to a Brawler, for example, or any other 2-drop. Or any other card, really. I mean, obviously the deck list is not going to be, confirmed or guaranteed to be like this. This is just my Theorycraft. But yeah, Self-Damage Zoo. Is it going to be better than Lackey Zoo? Definitely hard to say. I feel like this definitely did get a lot more support in terms of Raised Dead. I think Raised Dead's a fantastic card for this deck. Just allows you to give more, resource. Even if you get like a Flame Imp, right? Let's say with the Raised Dead, or even if you get, like a Blazing Battle Mage on turn 2, it's not bad, right? Maybe, fill out your curve pretty well with these cards. So overall, I think this archetype is going to be pretty good. I think both of these Zoo decks that we covered is going to be pretty similar, both the Self-Damage Zoo and the Lackey Zoo previously. I think they're both going to be pretty similar in power level, just going to be about preference, I think. Zoo maybe going to be a low tier 2 deck in the next expansion. We're going to have to wait and find out. But yeah, both these decks I feel like are pretty solid. So yeah, definitely give them both a try and see which one's better. Now let's move on to the more control-y styles of Warlock. The kind of Warlock decks that I personally like to play. Obviously, I started the game playing Q-Block. That was the first deck that I really invested time in. Obviously, started to play the game at that time. So, control Warlock decks always have a soft spot for me in my heart. A bit of a nostalgic feeling. And the first deck we have in terms of the control archetype is a Soul Fragment Warlock, right? Soul Fragments obviously are a new mechanic in this expansion for Demon Hunter and Warlock. We already covered some of the Demon Hunter decks that could potentially use Soul Fragments, and now we're going to look at a Warlock one that also can. And it's definitely going to be more of a control-y one, right? When we looked at Demon Hunter, the Soul Fragment archetype was very aggressive, was very tempo-oriented, and wanted to kill the opponent really, really quick. But the Soul Fragment cards for Warlock, namely, we had Soul Shear and School Spirits. Both of these cards shuffle Soul Fragments into your deck. These cards are really not, aggressive cards, right? We have Soul Shear can only damage minions. School Spirits is literally an AoE that damages your own minions as well. So it's really counterproductive to run this in an aggressive deck. But in a control deck, it makes sense, right? We have another AoE effect. I think School Spirits is a fantastic card. Basically, Breath of the Infinite for Warlock. Soul Shear as well. It's basically 2-mana deal 3, which is something that Warlock didn't really have before. So I think it's a fantastic card. We're able to shuffle a bunch of Soul Fragments in this deck. And then, there's a lot of payoff cards in this deck as well for those Soul Fragments, namely Void Drinker, which is basically Earth Elemental for this deck. Really, really nice to play on turn 5. It's actually a big threat as well. This is a control deck, but, it can also just get a massive range threat on the board as well. On turn 5, follow up with Abyssal Summoner, potentially, on turn 6, to, really pressure the opponent a lot, actually. So Void Drinker is a very good card, I think. Also running the Sociologist Militia, which in this deck can pretty effectively, I think, get quite a few rush minions out of it. We do have double plot twists. We are running the quest as well. I kind of forgot to mention that. But yeah, we are running the quest, so obviously synergizes in both ways with Soul Fragments, right? Because the Soul Fragments count for, if you draw Soul Fragment, you basically count for 2 ticks on the quest initially, which is pretty good, obviously. So you put a bunch of Soul Fragments in your deck. You're gonna, complete your quest faster. However, once your quest is actually done and you press the Hero Power button, if you draw a Soul Fragment, it actually, it discounts that to 0, which means your next draw is not going to be discounted. So it has anti-synergy after the quest. So yeah, a little bit awkward in that respect, but the fact that you get your quest done so quickly with Soul Fragments, I think it's probably going to be worth it. I mean, you're not often going to be tapping into Soul Fragments. Sometimes you're going to do and you're going to feel bad, but a lot of time you might tap into, maybe a Flesh Giant or an Enhanced Dreadlord or something. The quest is something definitely you can cut though in this deck. It's definitely not crucial in this deck, but I think it makes the deck a little bit better, even if you get like Alex Raz or something. But yeah, so this deck basically just wants to control the board as much as possible, running Brittle Bone Destroyer as well, which is the new card, which can help you destroy single targets. So yeah, control the board, complete your quest, shuffle your Soul Fragments, and then, play threats in the mid-game with Void Drinker, Abyssal Summoner, maybe even an Enhanced Dreadlord or something. You can get more value later on with the Fellow Betrug and Plot Twist combo if you want to save one of those Plot Twists to potentially get more Enhanced Dreadlords out, to potentially get more Kandrathads into your deck, so you can summon more threats later on. Obviously, Zephrys and Dragon Queen as well. So yeah, pretty interesting archetype for this deck. So yeah, pretty interesting. I think you just want to draw through your deck as quick as possible, basically, with this, and control the board and threaten your opponent. It's pretty solid. I'm not sure if this deck is actually going to be good, but it's a way to make use of Soul Fragments. So yeah, I'm definitely going to give it a go. And the last deck that I want to showcase is a Quest Malygos Warlock. With the inclusion of Soul Fragments. Obviously, Quest Malygos is probably the best Warlock deck right now in the meta. Making use of the quest to discount cards to be able to OTK the opponent with Malygos in the late game. But I've added the Soul Fragments into this kind of package I think it's going to be really good for a deck like this because obviously it provides a lot of healing. So, you know, this deck helps this deck survive and get to the late game so you can actually kill your opponent. And obviously it helps with quest completion as well. Similar to the deck previously, right? You're going to be able to complete your quest a little bit faster at the start when you shuffle those soul fragments in. They count for 2 ticks on your quest, so it's going to help you complete that quest a little bit faster. Also making use of the new AoE School Spirits for a bit more, you know, defensive capability. As I said, the healing is going to be really important as well. So yeah, we're going to use Soul Fragment in Quest Malygos. I'm not sure if this is the best way to play Quest Malygos. It might just be better to go with the original version and not to put the Soul Fragments in. But obviously, new expansion, I want to try something different. Definitely be trying this version of Malygos, Quest Malygos. So yeah, pretty solid. I mean, the game plan is pretty much the same still. You want to complete the quest as soon as possible. You want to keep plot twists in your hand to complete the quest. Getting plot twist with the Soul Fragments is really good as well because you just get more ticks on your quest. So you can definitely complete the quest really, really quick with this version of the deck. And then once you have, you want to keep tapping the button, right? Sometimes you're going to whiff and draw a Soul Fragment and feel bad, but more often than not, you're not going to. You're maybe going to draw a spell like Soulfire, Rain of Fire, or you're going to draw one of your big dragons. And the big reason also to play this deck next expansion is Lawkeeper Polkelt, which is a fantastic card. Obviously, after you complete the quest, you can play Polkelt, and you can actually then Hero Power afterward to ensure you draw either Malygos Alexstrasza or Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. So 2 out of 3 to get one of the combo pieces. Absolutely insane, right? You can Lawkeeper Polkelt, which shuffles your deck with the highest card up top. So then you can Hero Power, draw that, and it guarantees next turn you draw one of the dragons as well. So really, really strong combo in this deck. I mean, Polkelt is perfectly made for this deck. And it also shuffles your Soul Fragments to the bottom, right? Which means you won't draw with the Hero Power. So perfect inclusion for Quest Warlock. And yeah, I think Quest Malygos might even, you know, border on tier 1 next expansion. I think it's really, really strong. Polkelt makes the deck so much better. The question is, do you want to run Quest Malygos with Polkelt? I mean, sorry, not with Polkelt. You always run them with Polkelt, right? But do you want to run Quest Malygos with Soul Fragments or without? That is really the question. Obviously, I have on screen for you guys the Soul Fragment version, but you can definitely just kind of have the same version that we currently have and just slot Polkelt in there. And that will probably be a really good deck also. So yeah, kind of hard to say. We're going to have to do some testing after expansion comes out to see which one is better. But I'm definitely going to try this one out because I think Soul Fragments obviously is a new archetype and is a pretty cool one. So yeah, that is pretty much it. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. The sun is shining in my eyes right now, so apologies for that. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. Only a couple more classes to go and only a day to go before the expansion comes out. Really, really excited, guys. Hope you guys are excited as well. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to like the video. That really helps me out a lot. And subscribe to the channel for more Hearthstone content. After the expansion comes out, I'm going to be posting so many videos, so many gameplays, so many deck techs for the new expansion. So make sure to subscribe and click that bell to receive notifications. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you on my next video.